Molweni, Sanibonani, Jamela, Wisheni, hello everybody, welcome back to African Xhosa ASMR. In today's video, I will be dropping some knowledge by teaching you guys about African fashion and textile, and hopefully the meaning behind traditional attire and its history. So all I need from you is to just sit down, relax, and hopefully you will enjoy watching today's video. Without further ado, let's get started. Maskawuleswa khoqa betunan. Okay, I usually don't come empty-handed. I always bring my friend along with me when making these videos. And I had a red friend for you guys during the Valentine's Day era, which represent a Valentine's Day rose for you. And I was like waiting for compliments, like, oh, we love it. It's so dark, yeah, on the bristles, so it makes us easily fall asleep. But I didn't hear anything like that. So I was like, okay, maybe they don't mind any kind of brushes that I do use. I usually use this one, but a bigger one. But today we're using its friend, its tiny friend, to brush your face as we're teaching about the African continent, the African continent, the African continent. And in today's video, I will be reading from this article. Uyayibona, Nansoke. Now, let's get started. The title is Fashion and Style, African Fashion, History and Future. For decades, the global fashion industry has referenced African fashion, but it has not always done so in the right way. We discuss the source of African fashion, why it is in the spotlight, and what African designers can do to capitalize on the current moment. So, the takeaways from today's video is the history of African fashion, from bark clothes to wax prints. And then the second takeaway is Africa is a reference point in fashion and art. And lastly, why African fashion is in the spotlight right now. Okay? Why is African fashion in the spotlight right now? And then also, why and how is it referenced in arts? Those are the key 3 points we will be discussing in this video, at least you should be taking away those 3 points as something that you've learned as we have dropped some knowledge in today's video. Now, let us start with African fashion history. For a very, very long time, African fashion has been misconstrued as tribal or exotic. So people have misconstrued it as tribal or exotic. Tribal and exotic. And had simplified it to leopard skins and mud clothing. Many times it is a point of reference. However, the source is never regarded as much as the derivative. I know that feeling. And then Africa is a large continent. As a result, the variation of the African fashion industry that exists is influenced by a myriad of societies and the status of individuals or groups within that community. Let's talk about the early dress. When it comes to the early dress, the majority of Africans did not dress for warmth due to the warm climate of the continent. Loin clothes or aprons were sufficient for men, while women wore wraparounds. The first form of clothing were bark clothes, furs, skins, and hides. Here is a picture of people wearing bark, cloth, fur, skin, and hide. And the rest of the body adorned with beautification marks and color pigments. Hence, I have painted my face in today's video like I would at some of my videos. And the act of doing this in the Xhosa culture is called ukuchokoza. Ukuchokoza. Face dots. Diqabe amachokoza. I have painted my face with dots. Umchokozo. Dichokozile. Here is a picture of beautification marks and color pigments. The act of cutting your face is called in the Xhosa culture ukuchaza. Ukuchaza. Uchazile ebusweni. You have cuts on your face. You would receive them usually on the cheeks. Uchazile. You have those traditional or tribal marks on your face, and they're obviously permanent. Males simply wrapped their bark cloth that passed between the legs over a belt. Similarly, women draped the cloth over the belt to hide the front of their bodies. Garments communicated status or marked a ritual or passage of time as people moved from one state to another. According to some traditions, young women wore just skirts, and when they got married, they would wear full body wraps and cloaks. Soon, Africans began using raffia to sew separate pieces of bark cloth together. In time, grass skirts were the rage. Likewise, they used accessories to adorn the uncovered parts of their body. This consisted of more intricate jewelry and headgear fashioned from seashells, bones, ostrich eggshell pieces, and feathers. Here is a picture of Africans using skin as jewelry. Using seashells as jewelry. Using bones as jewelry. Using ostrich eggshell pieces as jewelry. Using feathers as jewelry. Fur, skins, bones, animal tails, and hair, raffia, wood, grass, bells, and pressed metals all contributed to a rich and embellished costumes they used especially for commercial purposes, as you can clearly see in the following images. Niyazibona? Nababona abantu abanxibe ingca, banxiba nobucwebe basuka kumazwe ngamazwe neengingqi apha eAfrika. Colors and patterns created in printed and dye cloth, woven fabric strips, and beaded attire distinguished one ethnic group from another. Tribes prided themselves on the quality of their handmade cloth. They used techniques handed down generation by generation for centuries. Well, in the Xhosa culture, we use one of the most expensive, good quality fabric. It lasts for decades upon decades. You just only have to buy it once and you pass it from generation to generation. It is so heavy, very, very heavy. And in summer, it gets so cold. It gets so hot. It gets so hot. And it felt like a blanket in winter, but in summer, you would sweat. And it is called umbhaco. Umbhaco. And here is a picture of umbhaco that we have in the Xhosa culture. Do you see it? Do you see it? Umbhaco. Umbhaco. Okay, now, around the 15th century, shipping routes opened up between Europe, Africa, and the East. As a result, trade increased. Uncommon items arrived from far and wide. Africans coveted them and decorated local clothes with them. Beads, shells, and buttons were adopted on garments either as an embellishment or used as an entire garment. For example, beaded aprons, capes, headbands, and shoes. Weaving techniques also made some improvements. Sometimes I just say shh and you guys don't hear anything, but I'm like, when I'm listening and editing, but at the times I'm like shh, but then you can hear it. And the times I wouldn't even have to include the shh, I would have to cut it out. But let's hope in this video when I say shh, it's just a random shh, you don't actually hear what I'm hearing in the background. But it's actually quiet now. So cotton, silk, raffia, and wool were the fibers now in use. Woven and decorated textiles became a reflection of a tribe's status, socio-economic standing, culture, environment, as well as climate. The wax prints that symbolic to African fashion today began to find their way to Africa in the 19th century. During the Dutch colonization of Indonesia, the Dutch adopted the style of pattern making from the Indonesians and mechanized the process. They initially tried to sell it back to Indonesians, but they were unsuccessful. They traded it to Africans who coveted it. Women began to ask for specific designs, and the particular designs became a form of sacred communication among groups of people. And so the trade became very, very successful. It continues to boom till this day. And here is or are images of the prints I'm talking about. Niyazibona? Do you see them? Do you see them? I hope you do. I hope you do. Okay. Now, let's just talk about the effect of colonization. Colonization enforced a massive change in daily wear in African cities. even after independence, traditional garments were not encouraged in many corporate scenarios. Consequently, traditional robes were replaced or influenced by the Western dress code, which became popular. However, they remained relevant in rural areas. For those who watch my videos, I would tell you that a lot of people who are not from the African continent usually have that stereotype of, oh, let me just go to Africa. I'll be seeing people walking around, in animal skin, animal print, having only their private parts covered. But when they get to Africa, they see people dressed like the people from their own continents. They get shocked. Well, that's one of the reasons. People were forced into the Western way of doing things. And as you can see, the types of clothes I usually wear on my videos are the clothes that you would wear in your own country. And every now and then I would put on jewelry that's African and paint my face as well, because we do have reservations for our cultures and traditions. But we usually wear those clothes on special occasions, like weddings, traditional events, cultural days, and etc. But on a day-to-day basis or at work, people dress like they would in other continents. They wear suits, they wear jeans, they wear tops, they wear overalls, they wear, dresses, depending on, the type of environment that they work in, depending on whether they work in a corporate, academic, mechanical, environment. Depending on that, they dress for that setting, because everything has been westernized. And now traditional clothing is very, very expensive, very, very expensive. And even if you go to villages, etc., you're most likely to find people wearing jeans, a t-shirt or something like that. But on special occasion, that is when they would wear their traditional clothing, because it's cheaper to get a jeans and a t-shirt than it is to buy umbhaco and insimbi. So where was I? Today, people in urban areas are warming up to traditional garments outside of special occasions. Yes, I could attest to this, because now people, but they usually say ndiyotungisa, and when people are now modernizing traditional clothes and wearing them in a corporate setting, for example, people are like, oh my gosh, you look so gorgeous. Where did you get that? Who made that for you? Can I have the same person make something for me? And then they would buy cloth and take it to a designer, and a designer would just make them something for them. And now people are starting to get back to that, embracing their traditions and embracing their traditional clothing, which is actually absolutely beautiful. But I would say not a few years ago, but just now, a lot of people would associate that with lower class. Back in the day, I would say maybe like 5 years from now, like just before the pandemic, or earlier than that, people would associate wearing traditional clothes, even when modernized, with lower class, like, ew, why are you wearing that? If you're wearing a suit, oh, you look posh. But if you're wearing like a traditional clothing, then you look ew, you know what I mean? But now people have stopped having that mentality. They absolutely embrace, or at least appreciate people who are starting to dress in their traditional attire. And they're always like, where did you get that? It looks so gorgeous. Where did you get that? And I'm not sure if it's environment-wise or anything, but people nowadays like it when they have their special traditional clothing made just for them. and they're wearing them out, they would always be told that they look absolutely gorgeous. So it is true that today people in the urban areas are warming up to traditional garments for dress down Fridays. You see, now they're even using the word dress down Friday. It looks like you're dressing down if you're wearing your traditional attire. So there's still that mentality. I don't know about that. And even with, like, let me make an example here in South Africa. Like a Zulu man would be wearing a suit, and then he would put on isiphahla. Manthema ndibize right. Isiphahla umntu azithembe. They would actually, a Zulu man would do that as well. And there are also beautiful dresses for South African women as well. So I'm just going to try to put pictures here so that you can see where people are wearing suits and then they put on their own twist of tradition into it. And people would absolutely say that they look gorgeous. And then Africans have always taken European fashion and made it their own. An example of colonial impact on African fashion is the boubous in Congo, who took the European high fashion and put their own spin into it. Literally, the society of embrace makers and elegant people utilize elegant European dressing to improve the atmosphere they go into and serve as a beacon of positivity. What a brilliant twist. Our cross-pollination of British, Japanese, and Nigerian elements are a conscious act that shows how cultures are intertwined. Now, let's talk about Africa as a reference point. So, Africa is constantly referenced in fashion, sometimes tastefully, other times rather poorly. The following, I'm just going to put it down here, is an example of a tactful interaction with African fashion styles. He created a series of delicate gowns using materials including wooden beads, raffia, straw, and golden thread. The most distinct dress paid homage to Bambara sculptures produced by the Bambara people in Mali. Their statues depict women characterized by long bodies and pointy chest areas. Pablo Picasso, from 1906 to 1909, Picasso painted a style strong influenced by traditional African masks and the art of ancient Egypt. In the following, the faces of the two women on the right have the appearance of masks from Den and Fang ethnic groups. It was well known that Picasso collected African totem art. However, he denied being influenced by it. Like many creative people, he lacked the courage to admit the source of his inspiration and the influence of his creativity. I could also agree to this. When people are influenced by African continent or African cultures or African people, it is very difficult for them to actually come out and be clean about it and admit to that. They just would rather keep quiet. And at times, let me just make an example using me. And at times, there are video ideas that I come up with, and then I would make that video idea my own. And I would see somebody from a different continent who is doing or taking inspiration from my videos, and they would not credit me. But we know very well that they were influenced by me. And that is called plagiarism, by the way. And every time I make a video and my video is inspired by somebody within the ASMR community, I would always make sure that I reference them, or I write that this video is inspired by so and so. That way you can see where the inspiration comes from. I think that's such a beautiful thing and a respectful thing to do. It actually would be lovely if people started doing that even more and more. Let's do that, guys. And then in the 21st century, African fashion is in the global spotlight, from runways to its use by celebrities in music videos and film. It is almost impossible to ignore. When influential people like Beyoncé and Michelle Obama step out on the red carpet wearing African clothing, they turn heads and reinforce trends to follow. African culture is popular around the world right now. Afrobeats and African dances are on almost every scene. This inevitably causes the world to take note of what they are wearing. There are a large number of young Africans living around the world who are increasingly trying to reconnect with their heritage. This includes learning about African fashion from their homeland and adopting it to feel more in touch with their roots. At UMI1, we want people to connect to the heartbeat of Africa. Through the heritage of the creative director and our involvement in art, design, and culture, we aim to show the beauty of Nigerian tribes through our designs. Our use of eso oke. Let me just show you guys a picture of eso oke from Nigeria, somewhere here. Our use of eso oke, an indigenous handmade Nigerian fabric, is a testament to this. The essence, traditional meaning, and design of the material have been preserved. We use the fabric to create beautiful, absolutely beautiful modern jackets and trousers, which we coin African denim. African denim. Take a look at the following African denim. Nayibona? Nantso-ke. Masithembe seniqibile ukuyibona ngoku. Masiqhubeke bethanana. Through this, we bathe new life into the cloth. With our collections, we also want to showcase the richness and variety of culture in Nigeria, unseen anywhere else in the world. Now, let us move on to the future of African fashion. We will talk about the future of African fashion. When it comes to the future of African fashion, social media has also played a huge role in familiarizing the world with African fashion. Certainly, seeing in real time how Africans dress and the variety of styles and variety of styles available makes people want to connect with African culture and style. The future is bright for African fashion, but only if they take hold of the narrative and get in front of the current boom. In order to avoid another tale of exploration, designers must also learn to be business savvy, putting the correct infrastructure in place for the manufacturer and sale of their products. Recognition isn't the end game. As consumers, rather than buying African inspired collections from Western brands, buy from African brands. African fashion designers deliver fresh shapes and vibrant colors, which the world yearns for right now. We hope they make a long-lasting impact, which will spur on future generations of designers. Okay, that was an article from UMI1. It looks like is it from the UK because it's .co.uk. And one issue I would say is that a lot of African designers get their ideas stolen. They are big corporate that come from outside the African continent, and then they see the types of clothing that South Africans are wearing, the type of clothes that they wear from the small designers, and then they rip them off and sell them at a cheaper price. And then local designers are left with nothing. So that's actually such a big problem or a big issue, because I recall one time, I think, I'm not quite sure which year it was, but I did make a video about it and also tell you guys about it. There was a video where I was wearing like different African fashion clothes and talking about them and teaching you about African fashion. It was an African show and tell, like it was a try on how or something like that. Before I did that, using my own clothing and cloths from my family, I actually wanted to bring you guys top quality video. So there's an amazing lady who sells gorgeous traditional clothes, and she comes up with these ideas herself. So I was like, this is a great way to market her company for my show and tell. I went to her company and I said, hi, do you mind if I put on some of your clothes that you guys have here? And then I make a video about them to show people the different designs that we have, the different fashion that we have here in the African continent. The lady said, I would absolutely love for you to do that, but unfortunately, I can't let you because you're putting this video out on the internet, and unfortunately, I have been experiencing, and then she mentioned the actual people who stole from her, but I'm not going to mention them here in the video for the purpose of not wanting to get involved. She said these people stole from her. They always steal her designs. So she doesn't want my video to be out there so that they could take more inspiration from more items from her, because every time they always steal her ideas. So she's trying to avoid that. So I found that to be really sad. And she was like, at the same time, I want to do it because it might possibly give me exposure in my business. But at the back of my mind, I'm thinking that I came up with these ideas myself and I don't want anyone to steal them from me. You know what I mean? And I was like, I absolutely understand. So I was unable to make that video in her shop to show you the gorgeous clothes that she has. Absolutely gorgeous. So that is pretty much it for today's video. And before I go, I absolutely want to leave you with words of encouragement, words to carry you through the rest of the week. These are words that I get from the Bible to inspire you, and if you're going through difficult times, to give you comfort that you got this, you got this, you got this. Whenever I'm feeling down, the Bible is always my go-to place. It's always my go-to place. It always makes me feel better. Besides exercise, I can exercise all I want. If I'm sad, I'm sad. The sadness that cannot be taken away by exercise, that only I need from Jesus Christ. And I would like to share those with you as well if you're interested. And the word of the day, today we're going to be getting it from, let me see. So the word of the day is going to be on the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 15 verse 7, and these words read, "But as for you, be strong and do not give up, for your work will be rewarded." So today, the word of God tells us to be strong and to keep going, because our great works will be rewarded one day. Be consistent, be persistent, keep going, and one day you will look back at this and say, wow, I did it. So I did it with Jesus by my side. So that's pretty much it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed watching it and you enjoyed me dropping some knowledge for you guys. I will catch you on the next one. Babayin bitanan. Dilitanda nonke emakaya abra kadabra. Why is there space there at the top? Why is there space? Now I have to take two. Nilitanda nonke emakaya abra kadabra. It's probably because I'm using a smaller one, not the big one, the smaller pretzels. I'm making it like shiny there at the top. But anyway, bye-bye.